How's things? And yes, hello to the people who are far too early on YouTube, which is Sophie the Cat and the Essentialist. Hello, how you doing? Um, how's things? How has everybody's week been? I can never speak when I start the stream. I like warm up. You know, it's like when you start your car and it's a little bit slow, a little bit, ropey at the start, and then it gets a bit better towards when you've warmed it up. It's me. Uh, I've had a very interesting week, and it's actually going to keep getting interesting because I have an e-bike being delivered tomorrow for a review. Like, it's a loaner sample. I don't get to keep it, but it's kind of interesting. And as an avid mountain biker as well as car nerd, tech nerd, and all the other stuff, it'll be interesting to check out. A bit that way. Hello, it's been great. Yours? Yeah, like I said, it's been kind of interesting. Quite a lot has happened. Quite a lot has been terrible this week and been decent. So yes, it's been a weird mix. Hello to Futon Entertainment and Almarani. I'm sorry I said your name wrong. Also, hello to you, Ish on Twitch, and I assume on YouTube at some point. Hello, Tom. 3D printing newbie. Good, thanks. Just bought myself an Acer Nitro 5 after watching your review. Nice one. What spec did you go with? The like 2060 or 1660 Ti model, or something else? Hello, best meme lord 123. How you doing, man? Nice things. But yeah, greetings from Siberia. Nice. Hi, how you doing? Is it like, the only thing that anyone ever says about Siberia is it's really cold. Is it? Hello, Don. How you doing? It was the i5 1650 model. Nice. Fair play. Also, Essentialist on Twitch. Hi, how you doing, man? Yeah, that's fair. There's a reason why I stream on both simultaneously. It's because some people prefer Twitch, and honestly, YouTube has the worst track record for reliability, so it's kind of best to do both at the same time. So yeah. But yeah, how's things? How has everybody's week been? Oh, actually, for those of you who are interested in 1440p monitors, I just had an Acer one delivered that should be pretty interesting. It's like ridiculously cheap. I think it's still VA as usual, but I'm pretty sure it's a flat panel, which I do quite like. I'm not the biggest fan of curved monitors unless they're ultra wides, but yeah, it actually yeah. What do you think about curved monitors? Like, do you have any? Would you prefer, flat? What is your preference? But either way, the Acer one should be pretty interesting to check out because it's ridiculously cheap for what it is. Is it IPS? No, I'm gonna shut up and look at it later. I have a 1000-watt RM1000X. Can I run two MSI 2080 Ti's? Yes. Yes, you should. Zen, hello. Also, DJ Georgie Porgy, nice name. Just swinging by to drop a like and support for the little guy. Thanks in the name of Honest Reviews. Thank you very much. I'm certainly not flawless, as we have seen, but thank you very much. It means a lot. Curved is annoying for me. I wouldn't go so far for me personally to say that it's annoying, but I see where you're coming from. Struggling to find a fan hub that suits my needs. Could I run 15 fans off of 5 headers without the motherboard blowing up? That is quite a tall order. You'd be talking about 3 fans per header, and yeah, that is probably pushing it. What you can do is get a fan hub for some of them. Basically look for a powered fan hub. So Fantex used to do one a few years ago. I have one somewhere, but it's basically a SATA power in one side, a 4-pin PWM header on the other, and then 4 to 6 I can't remember. I think it's 4-pin PWM fan inputs, and then the one output goes to your motherboard. It takes basically no power because the rest of the power to actually power the fans comes from the hub, but then you get to still have your PWM control in one from from the fan header on your motherboard, but you're not pulling all the power from the motherboard itself. So if you get a couple of those, that would work pretty well. Razer Crimson Viper, hello, a question. Would you trade your desktop in for a Razer Blade Pro 4K 120Hz? So I should probably be wary of your name, but personally, no. One, because there's pretty much no way I don't get more performance from my desktop. I can have any CPU I want on my desktop, including AMD, which at the moment I would much prefer. Also, I don't really like using laptops when I'm, not away from home kind of thing. So for me personally, I much prefer a desktop, especially because I have triple monitors and I'm soon to have quad monitors, which, while probably possible on the Blade, is not recommended. So for me personally, no. With that said, I could understand how someone might want to, because they are very impressive machines. The one thing I would say is that my experience with the Blade 15 Advanced, which I know isn't the same as the Pro. The Pro's the 17-inch? Anyway, my experience with the 15-inch is that they compromise the performance of the hardware because of the very attractive aesthetic, in my opinion. Do you watch Formula 1? I do. I prefer a flat with a matte screen. Good choice. I do too. I think curved monitors are good at size 32-inch or above. Do you know, that's a pretty good point. Size does matter. I'll carry on. So for, like I said, for ultra-wide monitors, where these are, 35 inches, having a curve is actually really quite nice. Whereas for a 27-inch, like I have here, 24, 21 and a half, yeah, I'd prefer flat. So that's a good point, yeah. I have a 27-inch with a 1500R curve, and I don't notice it much. So I agree with you in that you don't really notice it, especially once you've started using them. I think it's more, for me, personal preference, personally. But like, if I had them, or I had to have them, I don't think that I would be overly disappointed by it. It's just not my preference, I think. What's your favorite mechanical key switch? Cherry MX Browns, man. I have a Coolmaster Master Keys Pro L with Cherry Browns. The second to that is it's technically not a mechanical. It's the optomechanical switches that people like Wu-Tang use in the Wu-Tang 1 and Wu-Tang 2, because those are phenomenal in terms of the feature sets you can have, the adjustable actuation points, the multiple actuations or key presses per key press kind of thing. It's fantastic and really innovative. It just doesn't quite have the same typing feel that the Browns have, personally. But hello, Joe. How you doing, man? Have you been using the Montrose Note 10 again? I kind of have. It's absolutely massive. Like, it's huge. And it's terrible, but it's also not. It's weird. I've shied away from curved monitors. It's because I've not used them. I guess curve makes sense to keep the screen almost at the same distance from your head, especially on super thick. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Especially, like Tom said, on larger monitors, it makes a lot of sense. Also, hello Yannick, how you doing, man? Any advice on getting fan control to work on a laptop that doesn't let you play with the fan? The only thing that I would suggest is see if third-party softwares would let you. If not, you're kind of out of luck, really. If it's like super hard locked, then yeah. Oh yeah, the fake cameras. That was I don't. So there's 3 cameras, but I'm hoping that my camera will focus. Can you tell which ones are fake? It's kind of tragic. Essentialist Razer blades feel like gaming MacBooks to me. That is almost spot on. A good friend, loves MacBooks. I gave him the Blade 15 that I had, and yeah, his response was, "It's a gaming MacBook that runs Windows." So I'll be honest, I haven't tried brand new, actually any brand new keyboards in about a year or so, maybe a bit less. So yeah. Hi Chris, and soon to be bye Chris. Questions about F1. Why are Mercedes dominating? The obvious answer would be the sheer amount of money that they have by comparison. I think Ferrari are off the deep end, both driver side with Vettel, because except for the last race, he it comes across as like he's a wounded dog, you know, and obviously their lack of engine power this year not helping them. I think Red Bull and Verstappen, and I want Red Bull to stop screwing Albon so much. Which is the red team that AMD sponsor? They actually sponsor Mercedes now, so it's the silver and/or black team. Is that a phone with a fake camera? I think is the bottom 2. Yes, yes, you're right. The bottom 2 were the fake ones. That's a standard 480p webcam sensor, and then the other 2 are fake, and it's just hilarious. But a removable battery. I'm gonna put some fake fans on my next mod and a fake GPU to make it like it's worth more. Nice. Hey, is it fine for an AIO pump to operate at 100% RPM all the time, or should I put smart fan down to 75? So it is kind of designed to run full tilt kind of thing. It depends on how the motherboard does it, but realistically, putting the voltage or putting the duty cycle down to something like 75% when it's not under load, I can't imagine would be a terrible thing. The removable battery is only half the capacity of stated. Yes, exactly half actually. If I missed any questions, by the way, feel free to post them again in the chat. It's quite a lot, so I'm likely to miss some. I'm trying to decide on a 32 gig kit. I'm looking at G.Skill Ripjaws CL16, but curious about other brands that list themselves with higher timings but say they're optimized for AMD. So as long as your memory, so like that Ripjaws CL16 kit is on the qualified vendor list, the QVL list, for your motherboard, it should be pretty fine. And yeah, like realistically, the frequency and timings are the more important parts, because you can always tweak things like timings later, to suit the platform you're on, AMD for example. Hi, can you recommend a good compatible USB hub for the PS4 Pro? So I'm afraid I don't have one, and can't say that I've tested any because I don't have one. So I'm afraid I'm not the person to ask. Potentially you might want to look at like a powered hub. That might be of use, but I'm afraid Google will be a better help than I will. Sophie, so I think you're kind of onto it. All of the good ones do seem to be out of stock, which is obviously a bit of a pain. I'm not sure what is in stock. Obviously, Logitech C9, 20, 22, whatever the newest one is. Those are good options. I'm using the C922 at the moment, but as far as I'm aware, a lot of them are out of stock. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Asus did make a webcam that is designed for sitting on the top of laptops specifically, which might be. But yeah, I'm not sure what's in stock, I'm afraid. Does the 9700F come with a good enough CPU cooler? So the answer is the only CPU cooler Intel provides is the one that's that tall. It's absolutely dreadful, and the answer is always no. If it's a K series CPU, so the 9700KF, that doesn't come with a heatsink tall, but the F and standard variants do come with CPU coolers, but it's the absolutely dreadful one that definitely can't run that chip. So the short answer is no. Definitely get an aftermarket one. There are plenty of good cheap options like the Cooler Master Hyper 212, whatever the newest version is, Evo Black Plus. There's also the Arctic Freezer 34 Esports Duo. Thank you very much. So all of those things are the what you call it? Options for you instead. Just a question: does storage QVL even matter, or is it just BS? So realistically, it doesn't matter all that much. The only thing to consider, basically, that just means they have validated that those drives or whatever do actually work on that board, and therefore, if you're running a drive that isn't in that list and it doesn't work, they can just say, "Well, we told you so because we gave you a big long list." But realistically, I don't think I've ever had, at least when running Windows anyway. Mac OS is a different story, but when running Windows or even Linux, I don't think I've ever had an issue with a storage device not working in a, say, motherboard, for example. Unless it's super old and doesn't support SATA or like NVMe, that kind of thing. To the guy who was asking about can you run games off of a USB stick. SanDisk Extreme Pro SDXC. So the short answer is probably not, because while it may have good transfer speeds, it doesn't normally have very good random performance. A external USB SSD, which I don't have one. I've got a Samsung T1 over there, but something like that runs on USB instead might be a better option. No worries, Tom. Fair. Then they haven't tried very hard with the QVL list. And what motherboard would you recommend in the mid-end for X570 with Intel LAN? Realtek has too many driver issues. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you which ones have which. X570 is also an interesting platform to recommend for. What does the ASRock Steel Legend X570 use? The Asus boards that I've had, especially with Ryzen, have been a little on the icky side. How do you think the Samsung 980 series of PCI Gen 4s will be priced, and will we be getting a review? Well, I do tend to get Samsung review samples, so hopefully. In terms of pricing, you can almost guarantee that it's going to be a reasonable premium over any other Gen 4 SSD that you can buy. They will, like, the reasoning they will use is obviously Samsung is Samsung, but that they will have developed the controller and probably the NAND flash itself for that drive specifically, and so it will probably be a more true Gen 4 drive rather than what we see at the moment, which is not fake Gen 4 drives, but the Ryzen E16 controller is just the E12 or whatever, but with basically a higher bandwidth cap. So you're essentially just seeing what happens when you put a Gen 3 SSD, with more bandwidth. The drive itself isn't any more improved relatively. So yeah, I heard that Ryzen is really bad. From my testing with it, it's the E16 isn't a terrible chip. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it is just the E12 with higher bandwidth, but it's certainly not purpose built for Gen 4. Derek, I honestly can't say that I have. I don't think I've had any Aorus like coolers, or I've had one power supply once upon a time a couple of years ago. But yeah, I'm not too sure, I'm afraid. So proper reviews will be a better bet, I'm afraid. What's your thoughts on the possible pricing of the NVIDIA 3000 series cards? Seem lots are saying upwards to 2,000, others as low as 1,000. So the rumor mill says that because they launched it as like 21 days, 21 years, it's going to be the 2100 series. So that's a possibility. And then the other thing is that if they are going to launch a extra Halo tier card, then it would potentially make sense for that to be even more expensive than what the 2080 Ti was, which was 11 to 1,400 pounds. So yeah, it could be 16, 1,800, $2,000, that kind of thing. But yeah, what was I gonna say? But if they keep the same product stack, I can't imagine that they will price it more than the 2080 Ti was. Should I wait for the Ryzen 3200G to be stocked in my location, or the just buy the 2200G? I want to say that there was a reasonable improvement with the. Oh wait, no. They are pretty similar, if I remember rightly. Double check benchmarks before you buy it, but off the top of my head, I think the 2200G versus 3200G, I don't think that it's such a big deal. Beowulf, hello. How you doing, man? I have a question. How risky is it to ditch hard drives in favor of SSDs? So the answer is that you should always back up your data. But realistically, it's not that big a deal, especially if, like I say, you have backups, especially if you're like important data. Generally, stuff like your operating system and even your Steam games folder can all be re-downloaded, but stuff like your documents, pictures, videos, whatever, cherished memories, they should all be backed up, even if it's to a cloud service. Would recommend. But in terms of swapping to SSDs, it's certainly not a impossible notion. If you're swapping to multiple SSDs, that technically it's both a good thing and a bad thing, because if one drive does fail, that means that you don't normally lose all of your data. Whereas if you do just have one drive, technically you only have one point of failure, but it's also one point of failure. You get what I mean? Once again, if I miss any questions, do feel free to repost them. Apologies. I got a Power Color Red Devil 5700 XT paired with 3700X and playing Odyssey. The T junction was always hitting 94 degrees Celsius. Is it normal because my system got restarted automatically once while gaming? That is not normal. I take it, T junction, you're talking about your CPU, in which case check that your CPU has thermal paste, check that you don't have the plastic, on the heatsink. Check that the pump is the fans or pump, whatever you're using to it is plugged in and working. Because yeah, it shouldn't be breaking. Fair enough. Jackson, you're not wrong. I'm Levi. How you doing, man? How's things? I broke my laptop charger jack. What would you recommend? Buying a new charger or another jack? Unless you're quite confident with what do you call it? Unless you're quite confident that you can resolder the jack in the right orientation, probably buying a new charger brick, from eBay or whatever, probably a safer bet. Who's asking? Futon Entertainment. Is a RAID configuration a good practice for data integrity? Alternatively, changing corrupted drives in the way. So the thing to know about RAID is that RAID is not a backup. RAID is a good way, like you say, to practice data integrity because you're less likely. It's a lot less likely for data to be corrupted coming off of the drive, especially if you're using something like ZFS, and even going onto them as well. But it shouldn't be considered a backup just because you have, say, 2 drives, that kind of thing. It is a very good practice, but yeah. It is getting a bit out of hand, Joe. You're right. T-junction for the GPU. Okay, I see. So then in that case, make sure that the fans are spinning when you're playing games. Make sure that make sure that the fans are ramping up properly. And yeah, maybe think about getting a return on it. Take your case's side panel off as well and see if that improves it, because then that will be an issue with, say, not enough ventilation getting into the case, or that kind of thing. With the 5700 XT being almost comparable to 2070 Super, but significantly amount cheaper, do you think waiting on AMD prices before getting overexcited by NVIDIA? So potentially, like, the 5700 XT is an incredibly impressive card for where AMD have positioned it, because you're basically paying 2060 Super money but getting almost 2070 Super performance. So it's definitely a a very interesting point. When it comes to NVIDIA's next launch, that will be a different question because we need to see what their pricing is going to be like. And yeah, like you say, the reaction from AMD, whether they drop the prices a bit more, leave them where they are if they feel that it's still competitive, or if AMD does come out with a new line, for example, that is a possibility. It's been probably long enough. So those are all options. But realistically, I think we'll probably see moves from both parties reasonably soon after each other. And so I don't think you'd have to wait too long to see where, have the dust settle kind of thing. Thank you very much, Futon. Ish, redundancy is uptime, not recovery. Very good point. I got no plastic over the thermal paste on my CPU, which seemed kind of odd. So if it comes with thermal paste pre-applied, then normally there's like a little cup that it sits in kind of thing, that you don't even really think about when you take it out of the box. But it's when they don't have thermal paste pre-applied, that's when they have the "please don't forget to peel me" sticker. Nice one, fair. And thank you very much. There, it finally came up on stream. Thanks, man. Thank you. I have a Ryzen 5 3600X with a Gigabyte B450, 3000 ready. Should upgrade to B5 50. Do I get more performance? So no, you don't really get any more performance with a motherboard upgrade. The only reason that you would upgrade to B550 is if you want a 4600X or whatever, because your board may not get a BIOS update. Ish, you're right, Backblaze is fantastic as long as you don't need more than a couple of terabytes worth of data, or you want to back up anything that isn't a hard drive itself. As a personal user, that is. When it comes to Backblaze's enterprise solutions, they're still pretty competitive in pricing, but it's more expensive than I would be willing to pay, really. Would Asus Aura interface with MSI Mystic Lights and iQOO? Normally, no. I think MSI and Corsair do have integration with each other, but Asus Aura is normally a separate one. Oh, nice one, Gretchen. Which one did you get? Was it the GPU one or whatever else? Thank you, B6S4 Shelter. Why don't you deck out your personal rig to absolute monster levels instead of normal good? One, because I'd probably have to buy all the parts, and no. And two, because I don't really need it. Like, the thing that I want to upgrade at the moment is probably the CPU. I have a 3700X, which is fine. I render 4K videos literally every day, so a bit better would be good. A few more cores in there, maybe. Okay, fair play. The power button one, nice. The particles, see, nice. Oh, I'm glad you like it. Going Team Blue or Team Red for your next CPU? If I was going to upgrade today, the obvious choice would be a 3900X, maybe the 3950X if I really wanted to push the boat out. Because then I don't have to upgrade anything else, CPU, motherboard, that kind of thing. Plus, it just makes sense at the moment, especially if I was going to buy one. But it'll be interesting to see what the next generation for both platforms hold. Bought a B550i Aorus Pro AX, no QVL for 32 gigs of 3600 MHz CL16 RAM. So you might be pushing it, although what CPU are you using that with? Saint, hello. PSU's rule of thumb, wattage needed, and bronze, silver, gold rings. I actually made a full video about that if you want to check it out. The long story short is the higher the efficiency rating, the less power from you all you use effectively, and the safer your estimates can be, and within reason, the higher the wattage, the better. I say within reason. So for example, pretty much any system that isn't, high-end CPU, high-end GPU, I'm talking like 2080, 2080i, 3900X, the i5 Intel, maybe i7, can run off a 500 watt power supply with a good amount of headroom. For the higher end systems, 650, 7, maybe 800 watts, depending on what you're running. If you're running, say, a Threadripper and a 2080i or something like that, then you might want 800 to 1000. I have a 24 core Threadripper with a 2080i. I've had that built with an 850 watt power supply, and I was well within the limits for that one. So yeah, I wouldn't be too worried. But I did a full video on it, so feel free to check that out. What chair am I using? This one is the Hero, which is the one with the adjustable lumbar support, which is nice because I don't work. Or my body doesn't work anyway. Very well. Do you think RDNA 2 can beat the new leaked RTX? I would love to see that. that'd be fantastic for the market. In reality, not sure if they'll pull it off. You know, we've been burned on this bridge before, but yeah, I'd like to. Not sure it will. Would it be possible to swap a 4000 series CPU from a pre-built to a custom, or would that not work? Just wondering. Yes, it would, as long as the motherboard supported it. So you know the receiving motherboard has had a BIOS update to support the chip. Yeah, no reason why not. The pre-built CPUs aren't special in any way. Even the Ryzen Pro ones, they're not intrinsically special at all. You know, they're the same pinouts. They work generally in the same board. Is 3200 megahertz fast enough for Ryzen 5? Generally, yes. Especially if it's not third gen Ryzen. If it's second gen Ryzen, then 3000 megahertz is probably where I would head for that. But with the with third gen Ryzen, 3600 megahertz is generally the recommended point, but 32 is plenty fine. Oh, hello, Dante. Thank you very much, man. Very kind, very kind. And I'm glad that your deal worked out. Is there really a big difference between the 2060 Super and the 2070? It's not a massive deal. You want obviously 2070 will provide more performance, but it's not going to be night and day difference between the two, because the 2060 Super is basically just a couple cores less than the 2070. And will you review the PS5 and Xbox Series X when they come out? I haven't reviewed any other consoles before, and I'm not planning on buying either of them for personal use kind of thing. So it's probably unlikely. It would be interesting to check them out though, so we'll see when the time comes, maybe. Would you go for an 850 watt gold or a 750 watt platinum? So the ratings tell you how efficient they are across a different range. So gold, what was it, like 88% efficient at 50% load or something like that. There's a chart that you can check out, but essentially a platinum power supply will be more efficient even at idle than a gold one generally, but I would personally probably go for the 750 watt platinum, but that's me. For gaming and streaming, would you prefer a 5700 XT or a 2080 Super? So those are two very different cards. Did you mean, since you said your question twice, I assume I suppose you know what you're asking, but the short answer is that, I suppose the obvious answer is that the 2080 Super is a much faster card, so that one. If you were talking about price to performance, then I would probably personally go with the 5700 XT because it's a better value for money. It's, I want to say, half the price of a 2080 Super. So yeah. And you definitely don't get 2x the performance, but it's you know, up to you. They are quite different cards. On that note, will Xbox Series X be able to run Microsoft Flight Simulator, you know, smoothly? I assume that if it does come to Xbox Series X, which I would assume it would, they will do quite a lot of optimization to make it so. So I would assume so by the time that it's available. Thanks, man. That's very generous. I'm incredibly grateful. Thanks. It will. I was about to say it will pop up on screen in a second, but thank you very much. Oh, I punched the microphone. Sorry. But will it run Crysis? Is the MSI X570 Tomahawk good enough to run 3000 series 3000 series GPUs and third gen Ryzen AMDs? Yes. As far as I'm aware, it's a pretty decent board. Haley? Hello. 8K 15 FPS. Yeah. If you had enough headroom on your power supply, then efficiency. If you have enough headroom on your power supply, then efficiency is higher than the rating anyway. For example, my 80% rated power supply is usually operating at over 90% efficiency. True, it kind of depends on your load usage, because lower load usage has significantly less efficiency than higher load usage. But yeah. Is it worth upgrading from X470 to X570 right now? Like today, I would say no. Potentially when the 4000 series chips sort of come out, then maybe it might be important, because I don't think X470 boards are getting the same BIOS update upgrades that the B450s are. And so if you do want to run that, you might need to upgrade. But right now, I don't see a reason to. I know there are different. I know they're different. AMD's cheaper, but you get what you pay for. To a degree, like I said, you don't get 2x the performance for 2x the price by any means. Of course, you do get the RTX suite if that's something you're interested in, and I have heard that the NVENC encoder is better than AMD's VCE one. But in my personal testing, I can't say that I've ever seen a difference between the two. So, yeah. Personally, I would go with what do you call it? With the 5700 XT, but I don't. If you want the better performance, then the what do you call it? 2080 Super is obviously a better card. It kind of depends which one you're talking about. If you're talking about the reference design, then yeah. If you're talking about the add-in board partner cards, then not really. What's your target for this year, and how big of an impact did MSI BS have on your channel? So I'll answer the second one first, which is actually the support has been overwhelming. I obviously owe a lot of thanks to, in no particular order, Gamers Nexus, Hardware Unboxed, Linus, to a degree, and Paul and Kyle and all of the other people who have covered and supported, or offered support, that kind of thing. So it's actually it's been weird, because the amount of support I've had has been fantastic, and so it's been one of the best things that has happened, and also one of the most stressful things that has happened. So there's both sides to it, but it's been pretty good for me so far. And the goal for the year, I have so I suppose bad habit of not really setting goals. My goal is always to keep improving, like check out interesting stuff. I'm starting a car website and channel platform kind of thing, called At the Wheel, to review cars. And I'm actually going to a Renault press event next week, to look at some of their new hybrids. So yeah, it's like keep going, keep checking out interesting stuff, and keep making hopefully better videos. But I don't tend to have what you call it, goals for how many subscribers or views or whatever else I'm getting. That is a good option, Tim. And no, happily. I'm getting new PC parts. I'm spec as a Ryzen 5 3500X, a 5600 XT, 2 RAM sticks of ADATA, 8 gig, 32 MHz, Coolmaster ML240p, B550 EOS. How much wattage you need? 550 at best. Nice one. What EV do you drive? If you get a 5700 XT, get the Asus, the big heatsink with OC. Yeah, I mean, I've had a good experience with the Gigabyte one, the WindForce triple fan card. So, yeah. Sam the Man, I have not tested that. I have tested this, which is the Elgato Wave 3, which I quite like. so it gets a solid recommendation. But as to the HyperX one, not sure. No worries. Thanks to your channel, many of your reviews have helped me a lot in getting up to date with tech to upgrade my PC. No worries, that's what I'm quite literally here for. So yeah, if you have any questions, we do these every Thursday night at 8 p.m. UK time. So if you ever have any questions in the future, and everyone else, feel free to drop by and ask. Do you think that Nvidia's reference cooler looks worse now? Do you want the blower back? I actually really like the double fan one. I was testing the 2060, the reference 2060 or the founders 2060, and actually I do quite like it. It's a really sleek design. Where's the on-screen chat from? From YouTube and Twitch, and it's being displayed by Streamlabs OBS. If a friend of mine is giving me his 1080 that he legit barely used for $100, is that a good deal? Yes, that's a fantastic deal. Actually, literally today made a video about should you buy a used GPU, and comparing it to actually the 2060. So, right now in the UK, you can buy a 2060 for around £300, but you can buy a used GTX 1080 for about £300 if you can find a good deal on one. And so I was comparing the two in I suppose, a bit more of a Linus style video. Thought I'd try something different, a bit more interesting. So yeah, I'll be interested to see what you think of that one. What's the difference between a reference NVIDIA card and a Founders card? The Founders card, so NVIDIA don't really do a reference card anymore. They do design a reference PCB that they give to the add-in board partners to manufacture. But the only cards that NVIDIA manufactures themselves are the Founders Editions, and those are normally technically pre-overclock cards, slightly, and they are normally more expensive than their MSRP rating. As next-gen consoles are going to be using SSDs going forward, would you think it'd be important to invest in an SSD over a hard drive as a game drive? So I just read Saint's comment. So potentially, the thing is that the sort of trickle down of optimization is really quite slow. If you look at from consoles, from the console side of things, we've had AMD Ryzen 8 cores, or AMD, not Ryzen, AMD 8 core CPUs. Okay, they're technically probably more like 4 cores, but we've had high core count CPUs in consoles for years, and we still are only slowly seeing a use case for having, higher than quad core CPUs basically. So I would probably argue that the trickle down of requiring an SSD for games to load effectively is probably still a little bit away. I paid £400 for my second-hand 1080 Ti. That's a fantastic deal, yeah. That's really good. What are your thoughts on buying a used second-hand AIO? That's a lot more of a tricky question because AIOs fail. They fail almost immediately after the warranty ends. There's a lot more to fail on an AIO versus an air cooler. Buying a used air cooler, I wouldn't have too much problem with. You just clean it out, maybe put some new fans on if you really want to, but as long as the heatsink plate isn't gouged to hell or cracked open, wouldn't worry about it. But with an AIO, there was a lot more to go wrong, and I probably wouldn't personally. Mounted, I think you are right there. I don't think it will drop in price all that much, I'm afraid. I haven't tested the Asus X570 Prime P. The Asus boards, the Asus Ryzen boards that I've tested, haven't, like, they're not terrible or anything. I just haven't had very good experience with real world reliability is what I'd probably say. Just lots of tiny little niggling issues that make the user experience less than ideal. Is it easy to swap out the fans on a GPU? Technically, yes, you can just take the shroud off and strap some more on. In terms of the actual fans that are built into the shroud, normally no, but I can't say that I've ever in my 9 years, 8 years of PC building, actually no, like 12 years of PC building, I've ever had a graphics card fan die personally, and I've had a lot of graphics cards. Um, so that wouldn't be my concern. The only concern I would have is just cleaning out the heat sinks so that so that the card doesn't run too hot and overheat and kill itself prematurely. Yeah, used AIOs, like Wabs has said, a couple of months old, maybe, yeah, but like a couple of years old, I probably wouldn't. I think holding out for a used 2080 2080 Ti is going to be a good bet when the new card's released. So that kind of follows up. I think it's probably going to be a couple of maybe another year or so before used 2080 2080 Ti's are a legitimately good value card. Yeah. When I was running a deep learning server, GPUs running 24/7, I had a fan go bad, but they were very cheap to replace. Fair play. Sam, so the topic of what wattage you need and what PC Part Picker shows. So PC Part Picker shows you the recommended, effectively the safest possible configuration. In reality, I've done a whole load of videos on real world power usage, and I had, what was it, a 2080 Ti and Intel i9 9900K or something like that, running full tilt, gaming, and it drew 450 watts. So I wouldn't be worried about that personally. Um, and that's from the wall with conversion losses as well. But realistically, it's not the worst idea to get an overrated power supply for what you need. Within reason, most systems you can get are gonna be pretty happy at a 500, maybe 600, 650 watt power supply. I would only consider getting 750 or higher if you are running, like I said, Threadripper and a 2080 Ti, that kind of thing, or multiple high-end GPUs. Then I would consider going higher, but up until that point, a Ryzen 5, Ryzen 7, even the Ryzen 9s don't really use that much power, and most mid-range GPUs don't really use that much either, in the grand scheme of things. 12 years, but you're only a wee bane. Well, I've been doing it for a while. No worries, Zen. I hope I can catch you again soon. Is HDMI 2.1 coming on 3000 series? I would assume so. I would certainly hope so. But yeah, I can't say for certain. Also, I didn't see your answer. What EV do you drive? I'm genuinely very interested. Do you have any articles on budget video editing / gaming PC? A friend of mine is wanting one. Honestly, I don't think I have. What's his rough budget? Do you know? Yeah, your 850 watt might be a little bit um, overkill. Just a little bit. Ba 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 ba. See you then. Jack, what's the minimum price you should pay for a decent AIO? So it kind of depends what you're after. The 120 mils, you can get them for, what was it, like 60, 70 pounds. I would probably go for the 80 to 90 pound kind of ones. But yeah, I'm not sure. PCI Gen 4 coming to a new NVIDIA. I kind of doubt it because it's probably not necessary at the moment. They might technically list it, but I don't think it would be anywhere near utilized. What's the difference between B550 Unify over B550 Carbon? You know, I don't know. It might be a few extra little features, but realistically, I can't imagine there's going to be that much of a difference. Kia Soul 2016, 93-mile average range. That's not fantastic, but fair. And a 2014 Ford Focus EV2. Fair. That's awesome. I hope to be reviewing some EVs at some point. It's definitely a corner of the market I'm very interested in seeing how that develops. I can't say that I would drive one myself right now because they are kind of too expensive, and I have a habit of doing quite long road trips, like driving to Scotland from England, and I'm not sure that I could quite justify that just yet unless it was like a Tesla Model 3, but then that comes back to it's too expensive. I spent 16,000 on my 2013 Audi S4, which is very, very fast and I like it a lot, but you know, 16 versus what, 30, 40, 50 if you want the long range performance one. Do you have anything else lined up for the auto channel? I have a 2018 Jag. I assume that's Jag XFR. Not the greatest car in the world, but damn fantastic for driving through France. So I've got the Renault thing. I'm going to be doing content on my my own S4, and then kind of see from there. I've got a few different interesting one, but a few you know, how-tos, tools, comparisons, that kind of thing. But hopefully I will be able to get some press cars in and some more launches and that kind of thing. Planning on doing about a video a week, give or take, on there. But I'll do a video on TechteamGB talking about it. So yeah. Any more reviews on laptops coming up? I don't think I have right now, but I do have the XMG Ryzen one. That's coming at some point in the hopefully not too distant future. So yeah. I realized you did a review of the Note 10. So I should clarify, it's not the Note 10, it's a Note 10. And I only really review phones when it's kind of funny or interesting to me. So I reviewed my where is it? My OnePlus 7T Pro when I bought it, you know, for me. But this was a kind of interesting one where I kind of knew it was going to be terrible, but it's also better than expected, but also worse than I expected at the same time. It's a fun one. Feel free to check it out. But yeah, in terms of normal phones, I don't normally, and so I don't have a review of the S10e, I'm afraid. Nice try, Upton. But you have new monitors? I do actually. The Acer VG VP271, that one. So yeah, it's called At the Wheel, or At the Wheel UK. It doesn't have any videos or customizable link or anything yet, but I'll find the link for you and you can subscribe if you really want to. Oh. There you go. Hey, I'm looking for a decent 140 Hz monitors with VESA mount. So Adam, what resolution are you looking for? What's your personal rig? A Ryzen 3700X with now 64 gigs of 3200 megahertz RAM and a GTX 1080 Ti on a, what is it? Gigabyte X570 AOS Master. and a number of SSDs, including a Gen 4 Patriot Viper VP4100, WD Black SN700. Yeah. Air versus water, not to a D15, thinking getting water cooled. So the thing that I would do there is, if I assume you are, what do you call it? Brain's gone. I assume you're talking about custom water cooling, in which case that can be a lot better and a lot quieter, but you might be spending quite a lot of money to do that. Who makes solid X570 boards? I've had good experience with the Gigabyte one I have here, the X570 Master, which is quite high end. Has been very solid for me, and I've actually had two of them, and Gigabyte's lower end ones as well, which weren't too bad. In terms of the mid range, I want to say that ASRock Steel Legend X570 might be a good shout, and the Tomahawk MSI one, I think is a good option, if I remember rightly. I blew up my 2004 S4 Avant V8, went electric, no more oil leaks. That's pretty fair, yeah. Yeah. He's gonna say MSI. Yeah. The ASRock Taichi is a great board, it's just also very expensive as well, which I suppose so is the Gigabyte Master. Right, last questions I'm going to answer, and then I'm going to disappear. So, hi again, my dad, old PC case power supply brand for mid-term power supply. So, I absolutely love Fantex cases, including the Fantex P350X. Love it. Power supplies, any good reputable brand, Corsair, Seasonic, EVGA make good ones as well. So, Be Quiet as well. Whoever's in stock really at the moment. And what was I going to say? What's the best minimum CPU for the new chips? Probably the 3600X, maybe the 3300X if you're really being picky. Best gaming monster between 100 and 400. Kind of depends what you're after. The AOC 24 GTU probably stands out. But right, I'm gonna leave you guys there. Thank you very much. But yeah, like I said, these are every Thursday night at 8 p.m. UK time, so feel free to kick back next week. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Have a great time. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep watching videos. Cool. I'll catch you guys there. Bye. Now's the fun bit, to find the button. Because there's like 3 of them. Right, goodbye YouTube.